we're good.
Oh no.
Oh, I had the curry like pretty hot.
Yeah.
Like
Oh god,
8 out
I
of 10.
love I love super hot curry.
Same.
Like the
Now
whole time I was eating, my mouth was a little numb.
Oh, shit.
that's when you know it's good. So, as we were just talking about, welcome everyone. This is our first official episode of Nerdy Dirty Media, and I am with some of my favorite people in the world. I'm your host. Well, I'm one of your hosts. My name is B, Brian. Y'all can call me. I'm the Nerdy Cephalopod. And these are my favorite people. Guys, introduce yourselves.
Alright, who goes second?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm Richard, aka Dick.
And I'm the other B,
You're
also
Brian.
Brian. Yeah, that's fair.
I'm a cat.
And I've assembled
I
and you we're gonna recognize their voices. They're my amazing players from our tabletop game. Now I've assembled everyone today because this is gonna be our first official episode of our first podcast. But I want to talk about the SCP Wiki. This is one of my favorite things. Whenever I go down a hole, this is usually what I'm doing. I'm usually going to be spending maybe about 2 to 3 hours of just going down different subjects. And before I start running my mouth about everything, I would like to ask everybody, what do you all know about SCP? About the SCP Wiki?
I mean, like, are you asking like a percentage? Like, what do you, I don't know.
Just your general knowledge. Like, what have you been introduced to? Like even if it's only just the basic thing of that everyone talks about on YouTube, peanut.
Oh,
I pretty much know mainly the ones from the secret laboratory.
Okay, those are some of the best. Those are some of the best ones from the original first 3 series.
yeah. I mean, I know a handful of them, but that's mostly just from, like you said, a little bit going down rabbit holes and stuff. Um, nothing, I guess, too in depth.
And I know my man Richard here is a virgin for SCP.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I know, like, almost nothing. So, I'll probably just be playing part of the audience that's pretty ignorant to the subject, which is, fun, I guess. Who doesn't like
Hey,
to learn?
everyone's got to start somewhere.
That actually makes me really excited. And you know what? I think the best way to really talk to you guys is not even starting off with just the straight horror of it all. One of my other favorite sub branches is Dr. Wondertainment. Kat, have you heard of Dr. Wondertainment?
I can't say it's familiar to me.
Oh. Okay, so
I
Dr.
I've never actually been on the site, is why. I mean, not really, like really in depth into it.
You know what? I was going to say, Kat, I'm going to bad, but you know what? I will forgive that because there's still tons of ways to enjoy it, and plus, you've played the game Control, which I'm going to talk about here in a little later. Dr. Wondertainment in the world of SCP. The best way to describe him would be imagine Deadpool, but makes toys, and the toys have the potential of being a small robot or a human with a fish for a head. And there's a series of these, what he calls the Little Misters. And you have some that are like, actually, Mr. Forgetful terrifies the hell out of me because Mr. Forgetful, his thing is, he can't remember anything. But if he writes down information about what you're telling him, only he will remember what he's written down, and everyone else will permanently forget it.
Spacey has the big delete button.
Exactly. He's a big delete button.
He's like a walking reverse memento.
Exactly. And Dr. Wondertainment, this is now, well, just the whole Wondertainment has now become one of those things that's gone on to add on to the whole Scp-001 proposal. The 001 proposal is the idea of why is all of this? What started all of this? And then and that's why I love the website for SCP, is that there's literally a tab called Canons. And the way the story goes, guys, is that there are multiple proposals for what's the first SCP, is because it's supposed to fool people into not knowing what is the real first SCP.
I think I remember reading that, yeah.
Why is that?
So, okay, this is actually... The reason for this is you actually so I'm going to talk about a couple of the proposals. One of the proposals titled When Day Breaks. And this is actually about how the world comes to an end. The world comes to an end because the sun starts emitting a certain type of ultraviolet ray, which causes everyone to melt together and become a type of goo and seek other people out and add to the goo. And it's basically, hey, we don't want the world to have the knowledge of how the whole world's going to come to the end. So that's one proposal. Another proposal is called the Gate Guardian. There's an SCP that is literally a giant angel that just stands in front of guarding the Garden of Eden. If you approach it, you'll hear the words, leave. If you keep trying to approach it, you are struck down right then and there, dead, by a lightning bolt. The proposal for that one is, the Gate Guardian finally leaves the Garden of Eden, and shit goes bad. My personal favorite for the first 001 proposal is the factory. And it's supposed to be Dr. Bright as an old man sitting down telling a researcher how everything began. There was this crazy ass old man who built an ungodly huge factory and populated it with thousands upon thousands of people and did all kinds of weird occult shit in there, and they started inventing weird items and things. And well, the people who founded the foundation went in, destroyed everything, but then found these items and were like, wait a minute, this could help us. This is supernatural shit, and there's more of it, and there's already stuff out there. We should study this. And then one of the other 001 proposals that I know is the Scarlet King. That one is the reason why why they keep it hidden, is because that's part of what keeps him contained. The Scarlet King is basically the end-all, be-all, most evil being in all of SCP canon.
What does he do?
Well, the Scarlet King, okay, so I've done a lot of digging in, and part of the Scarlet King's canon that people believe is that he is an eldritch being whose name was Karak. And when Karak was born in the beginning of the universe, he was the only omnipotent being that was self-aware. And because he was self-aware of his existence, he knew pain, and he hated it. And he was like, yo, I want to die. But wait a minute. Everything else should die too. Mm-hmm. And so Croc decided, I'm going to eat all my brothers and sisters and become even more omnipotent.
Oh, he's one of those.
Yes. And so
Yeah,
he
Omnipotent
does
Karen.
that. He's the ultimate Karen. But at the same time, he can't. The idea of him being omnipotent, but he still can't breach our plane. So he had 7 daughters, which became his 7 brides. Gross. And when the
I mean,
7th
that's
daughter,
kind of how the Eldritch gods work, though.
yeah,
So,
true, very
it
true.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, they are. Who they be?
And
I
when
mean,
the
that's
7th,
also how the royal families work, too, so.
very true. Oh god damn it. Oh, that's why they're blue bloods.
Yeah.
Ew.
Little side
That's
note.
why all of them have a hemophilia in their family lines.
Quick little side ramble. If anyone remembers the amazing animated show The Critic, there was a joke on there when the mom goes, "Honey, check out this guy," and she goes, "Look," and pricks his finger, and blue blood comes out, and goes, "Look, actual blue blood." Oh my goodness. Now, those are like the really fun, deep, long stories. Now, when you start getting into different SCP items, that's when you start really discovering the fun things. The first one I want to talk about is SCP-5773. What? This one is so cool and so fun. What it is, it's a VHS tape, but it's a horror movie. And imagine this: you're at home, you find this weird ass horror tape, you pop it in, you're watching it, and you're going through the typical cliches and shit. Then all of a sudden, the heroine turns to you and goes, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Why are you watching this?"
Pretty meta.
Because I like to suffer.
Well,
Well,
she
you're not
can
living
talk,
unless
she
you
can
suffer.
hear you, and at that point, she can hear your response.
Hmm.
So she's going to be, at this point, the character in the movie is going to be begging you, "Please help me get away from this killer." And this is when shit goes typical when you have a... So Richard, with SCPs, you have classes.
Oh.
You have Euclids, Keters, Safe, Apollyon. What these are is just how fast these things are gonna fucking kill you.
Okay.
And it's kind of like how in our game,
Breakdown.
it's like how the dukes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So, 5773, what's... Now, now, when you're viewing this, you're going to be like, I gotta help this girl, try to get her to survive this horror movie now. I feel bad. I feel guilty. But,
Nah,
no
that's
matter
like
what you... Okay, Cat, it would not pick this SCP up, because that's exactly what's going to happen. That's exactly what's going to happen, is that you're basically in an endless loop, because no matter what you do, it's always going to fail. You and the girl can come up with the most elaborate scheme to where you're like, "Quick, you're a martial arts master, you know all this, go beat the shit out of the killer." The killer just is like beefed up steroids level and just easily kills her. You come up with an elaborate escape plan, and the killer always just pops up at the end and kills her. But the only problem is, because you viewed this tape, you're stuck watching it now. And at some point, you're going to disappear.
Sounds very.
It's as one do.
Hmm?
Now, Richard, there are, besides the cool items and stuff, there are in this universe, in the SCP canon, there's people's names that you'll want to get associated with. Before I get to the main two I want to talk about, before we started recording, I was talking about Dr. Bright. Dr. Bright is a very special person in the SCP universe because he's technically an SCP, and his family is one of the founding members of the SCP Foundation. The only thing is, he's technically not alive anymore, but he is. His soul's inside of an amulet that if you wear it, he takes over your body.
Okay, I think I've heard this part specifically.
Yes, and
He's
one
the
of
one
the
involved with the witch, right?
Oh, that's actually the next character I'm going to talk about. Oh, you jumped the gun. You're actually talking about Dr. Clef.
Alright.
Dr. Bright, he has a baby sister who's like 7 feet tall, and she can't stop growing. That's why she's in. So all the Bright siblings are SCPs. His middle brother, he can cure any illness, any ailment by when he touches you, but he takes it onto himself. And
Sorry. I was just going to say, I was dying for a moment there, but just a quick note, when you were bringing up SCP Object Classes, it actually isn't anything to do with how dangerous they are, it's how hard they are to contain.
Oh, you're right. I said that completely wrong.
Yeah. So, safe would be something that is easily contained. Euclid is something that is difficult to contain, but not impossible.
And cure is like good luck.
So they have also the Thaumiel class, which is something that helps contain. It's usually an object, but I guess it could be theoretically another SCP entity that helps contain.
SCP-3000.
Yeah. So they have specifically a locked box test, which helps you determine what their class is. Basically, the locked box test is if you lock it in a box and leave it alone, nothing bad happens, then it's safe. If you lock it in a box, leave it alone, and you're not entirely sure what will happen, it's probably a Euclid. If you lock it in a box, leave it alone, and it easily escapes, it's probably a Keter. And if it is the box that you lock it in, then it's a Thaumiel. That being said, like I said, the object class being whether or not it's hard to obtain has nothing to do with whether or not it's dangerous. They specified that a button that would destroy the world, if pressed, might be extremely dangerous, but you could easily lock it in away and no one would touch it, and thus it's safe. But a cat that switches places with any other cat in the world, it would be a Keter class. Just for the difficulty of containing the damn cat.
Now, when you say capture or to, who's doing it? What is the Foundation?
Oh, the Foundation stands for secure, contain, protect. Yeah. So that's just the whole Foundation's goal is to secure, contain, and protect the world from these SCP class objects and entities.
It's a private group.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a
government or independent?
No, it's an independent international foundation. I should say extranational, supposedly.
The Chaos Insurgency, that's a government. Because in the world of SCP, there's actually many different factions. Like each one, they all have different views on how to handle these items. The Serpent's Hand, they want to use SCPs and coexist with them. Chaos Insurgency just wants to destroy everything. Like, the minute you get it, kill it, the SCP Foundation's kind of iffy because if you read about Site 13, they're some of the worst monsters ever. That's pretty much Unit 731. Ugh. If you don't know about Unit 731, that was the infamous unit from Japan that went to China and did some of the most atrocious war crimes in history.
So, Nanking?
Worse than that, my friend. So, little lesson, Unit 731, they would do things like purposely give some horrifying disease and just be like, okay, and then like shove a person's arm in nitroglycerin and shatter it and be like, okay. The shit Mangala was doing, take that and multiply it by 100. That was Unit 731. And then take that and put it into a universe where there's supernatural beings. And then just imagine them being tortured. But the whole point of that story, though, is to make you see, is there a line in morality when it comes to how you treat, like how I said in one of our sessions, you can't help something being evil, man. It's its nature. It didn't ask to be that way. Do you penalize something like that? Where do you draw the line?
You kill it.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you say kill it, but
kill all evil, there won't be any evil.
Yeah, but if you kill all evil, then who's to say that you aren't the evil one deciding that they're evil?
And you kill that person, because that person's clearly just trying to spread, propaganda.
Yeah, but then where does it stop?
It doesn't.
And then you end up being the SCP you sought to stop. See, my favorite part of SCPs, I think, are the task forces. I've been getting really into those, man. They have the different mobile task forces. Like that's been my my go-to reads when I've been checking it out. Is like just I've been reading like if you go over to their mobile task forces, they have a whole list of them. You can check out each of the individual task forces and where they've been instrumental in containment of objects and action reports specifically about them. Those are just interesting reads all around. The Last Hope are some of the most fucked up ones. Like they're the ones where it got way out of hand. Those are pretty good. And then there's a lot of interesting ones, definitely. But like, I just like that each one kind of has like their own goal in mind, and then some of them are literally like the village idiots. They're basically sent in to like clean up like shitty areas and rural areas. But also that's where like the Nine-Tailed Fox Squad and all that stuff, they're all out of that list. That was where I started following into this when I was trying to keep up with Cat playing talking about that game that they came up with. That was the part that interested me.
Yeah,
also,
the mobile task force are really cool. And you know what? I think it's time for Kat to say a little something. That's where we're going to bring up. SCP has had a tremendous influence on our on pop culture we've seen a film be influenced by it and a very popular game that came. What was it? Like a year ago, 2 years ago that came out. Did Control came out?
A year ago. I know it's 2 years now. I guess I think it's the end of 2019.
So, Control, when they were developing that game, the Scp Wiki was a massive influence on the story and and the development of that game.
It was a mixture of that and the new Strange movement,
Yes.
which
And
if
you-
people don't know, it's industrialism like surrealism. It's kind of like a weird mix.
Basically take Kafka and combine it with steampunk. I love it. That's the best way I can sum up surrealism is I just say Kafka. Just go read Kafka.
What was the movie you mentioned? What was that called?
Oh, perfect. Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That is one of my favorite horror films and to date. Like, of course, number one will always be The Thing. I love that movie so very much. And Dawn of the Dead. And Day of the Dead. But Cabin in the Woods will always be in my top 5 now because it takes what you view from a horror film and just says, fuck you. Like, you have Chris Hemsworth, which if you pay close attention, his character is not a jock. He's supposed, like, when the stoner's like pissed off at everyone going, what the fuck is going on? You're on an academic scholarship, dude. You're not a jock.
Yeah, he's like a philosophy major, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's a philosophy major. The dumb blonde was actually a fucking genius. He's like, why are you acting like a dumb blonde when you have the highest GPA of us all? The virgin was not a virgin. She fucked her teacher. And then the so-called smart character was the dumb jock. And then we have my favorite character, the stoner. My favorite part of the movie. Oh my god, I'm on TV. My parents are going to be so disappointed in me. I'm such a burnout. But you can see the influence that SCP had on that movie because, I mean, look at it. You had a foundation that's appeasing gods. They had literally every monster you can think of.
By the way, speaking of that movie, the fucking ballerina creeps me out, and it's also basically what I think influenced the kid ghost in Phasmophobia. You know, the Demigorgon one?
Oh, no. Oh, oh my god, I just saw the ballerina from Cabin in the Woods. Oh.
Yeah, it suddenly clicked one day. I was like, oh no.
Oh, God. No. Ugh. That leads me to the SCP that will always terrify me the most is 173. The Sculpture. I actually do have a fear of mannequins in real life. I can't do it. No. I hate mannequins. Yes.
So, still
yes.
homogenous things scare you, or androgynous things scare you?
Okay, what it is about the mannequins is that they're always in the most unnatural of poses. Like a body doesn't bend that way. I don't like it. And yeah, I'm.
Wait,
Besides
that are having mannequins bend in weird ways.
And look,
Hot
yes,
topic?
I.
Are they like bending over Like the ring girl or something.
I was going to say, which is another reason why, this is probably why I'm always obsessed with SCP, is that, yes, I'm one of those people who's a weirdo. I believe in the paranormal. I've seen some weird shit. Mannequins are a part of my fear of some of the weird shit I've seen.
Want to talk about some of that weird shit?
Actually, I will, because it's all in theme of what we're talking about with the SCP. Like, I've seen some shit that probably would be classified as an SCP. So, when I was in college, I'll tell you about the really weird night. I was going home. It's about 3 in the morning. While I was walking around at 3 in the morning, I was a little drunk.
College.
Yeah, it's college.
Exactly. When I stop in the middle of the sidewalk because I see some dude in a hoodie, but I can't see his face. Oh, cat.
That hits. No. This one hits really close to home. We'll tell you the story afterwards.
As he approaches me, I'm losing my breath. I can't breathe. Dude's just standing there, and I swear to God, he's just staring deep into me. And something in the back of my head tells me, say out loud, I don't want to die. I say that out loud, and it walks away. And I run home and I cry and I hide under my bed. I'm like, oh, what the fuck was that?
Okay, this one hits super close to home just recently, actually. So, you know, Kat and I work together, and we start at like 1 or 2 in the morning, depending on shift. So probably what would you say, Kat? About a month ago?
Yes, like month, maybe 3 weeks.
Yeah, it wasn't too long ago. So we're driving now. Without giving out too much location-specific information, there's a exit off of the freeway that we take that we can stop at a 7-Eleven, and basically, like, you hop off, go to the 7-Eleven, and where you would get out of the parking lot, the freeway on-ramp to get back on is, like, right there. So it's like a pit stop, just perfect to get to the 7-Eleven, get your stuff before work, go home, or go on. So about 3 weeks ago, we are driving down, and the exit, the off ramp right there is just like really dark in kind of like a really bad area, and there's nothing there. Like, there's literally nothing on that off ramp, hardly at all, other than like that 7-Eleven down the road, you know, and so we're exiting on the off ramp, and I see this person walking on the side of the freeway, which is weird enough. It happens, though. It's not uncommon. Not super uncommon, anyways. You shouldn't do it. By the way, kids, don't walk on the side of freeways. That's just PSA. That's just good, good manners. So anyways, this person's walking on the side of the freeway, and as we're about to pass them, they're walking along with traffic. And as we're about to pass them, going into like a blind curve, I get a good look at them. And the thing is, I didn't see anything where their face was. And, at first I kind of like chalked it up to like, maybe I just, my mind's playing tricks. Maybe, they had a face. Why wouldn't they have a face? Maybe I'm just playing tricks on myself. And then I like stopped for a moment, and it hit me that I don't hallucinate. For those who don't know, I'm aphantasic. I have no ability to visually imagine nor hallucinate. And I realized I don't hallucinate shit like that. And so I asked Kat. I said, "Hey," like at this point I'm getting like full on like spine chill and everything, and I'm like, "Yo, Kat, did you see that person on the side of the road?" And she looks me in the eyes and goes, "No, I didn't see anybody on the side of the road." And
Oh.
I just keep on driving, and then for like the rest of the night, I had that like ominous feeling because like it felt like when we hit, there's a stop sign at the end of the off ramp. When we hit that off ramp stop sign, it felt like they were like when I first saw them, they were at the top of the off ramp, and it's a long off ramp. And when we were at the stop sign, I kind of had glanced back, and that's when I saw there wasn't a face, and they were like right behind the car, like right there. Like not behind the car, but I mean like they were almost caught up with the car. Like that should not have been possible. And it again, that was stuff that like I was, I started thinking, I must be off. I must be like off. That no. And then that's when I was like, I don't hallucinate. Hold on. Yeah, I was shook for like a good few hours that night. And I kept feeling like every little thing felt like a near miss that day. You know what I mean? Like, it was. And every time something happened, my mind wandered right back to that, and I was thinking, oh shit. Yeah, that one hit real close to home when you mentioned that one.
Now, I have another one for you. Not with that thing. I've only encountered that thing once, and I don't ever want to encounter that thing again.
Oh, it was. That was a lot, and so when you mentioned that specifically, that had me a little shook right now. I'll tell you.
No, when you were just talking about it, I got goosebumps, and I went, "Oh shit!" Oh.
Yeah, because I had that full on like this is something's wrong, and I was like, you saw that, right? And she's like, no, I didn't see anybody.
I've also seen sort of the same thing, but it was like during the day. But
Ugh.
it seemed like no one was paying attention. I was just like, oh boy.
Oh god, you just gave me goosebumps on that one. When I was in college, the second house I lived in college, it was
Go on.
It was a former funeral home turned into a giant dorm house.
It's funny because that's not the first time I've heard of something like that.
And so the downstairs was where the coroner's room area was. Like my bedroom, like right before you got to my bedroom, there was a room right before that, and you could see where the drainage was. And I was like, "Oh, that's unsettling. I'm glad I didn't choose that one."
Oh yeah. That's just a big no. God, I feel like this is turning into those things that you spot from the corner of your eye that you can't quite explain.
There's actually an SCP for that.
Oh yeah.
No, explain then this one for me. So we all decide, all of us guys in this house, there's a good fucking 8 of us. We're all just like, yeah, we're all super baked. We got a blunt with us. We're passing it between us all. We're like, let's go up to the creepy attic. Nothing can go wrong with that. We go up to the creepy attic. There's a fucking cat. It has a door. It has a door before you get to the stairs. We open the door. None of us even question why the door is shut behind us. We walk up the stairs. We get halfway into the attic. We're all standing there and it's dead silent. All of a sudden you just hear a little girl say, "Come play with me." And then all 8 of these big strong guys were on the ground, crashed through the fucking door on top of each other, staring up the stairs of the attic. And I'm just like, I'm never going fucking up there ever again.
Yeah, I mean that would keep me out. All right. Since we're on the subject of life experience and personal experience, what is your experience with precognition, with having that? Some people would call it a vibe before it happens. Anything like that. For example, we used to have a neighbor of mine, anyways, who and this may sound weird, but she would have these dreams, and it was always related to people in a relationship, specifically women, and she could just tell you, like, every time. She was, I kid you not, she was never wrong. She would be like, "Oh, I had a dream that you had a kid, or that you were about to have a kid. Like, I saw I saw the kid in my dream. You with like your new kid." Now, I had always thought like that has to be just, she's just saying that. You know what I mean?
Sort of thing.
'Cause I don't know. I didn't know how to really justify it, to be honest. And the thing is, when he was with his ex, so he has two kids with his ex. She told him probably 3 or 4 times, like, "Oh, yeah, I saw it. You guys have a kid." And this is getting a little personal, but you know, um, I was like, "Well, you guys only have two kids. She told you that almost 4 times." And he tells me that years later, the other 2 times she had said that, she was fully correct. They had just, they didn't have the means, and, they ended up with Plan B, or through, other means. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't want to, you don't want to say all that, but both times she was 100% correct. One of them, she even said, "You're going to have twins," and they found out, and they had to medically have the schmortion, because she couldn't carry twins. There was no way that she would be able to.
Yeah.
And that was the thing, is she was 100% correct. Every single time she was correct. And it wasn't just them. It was other neighbors, it was other friends. She would tell them that, and she was right every time. The only time that she was technically incorrect, there's a good chance that she was still right. But we think that obviously the person also didn't want to talk about maybe having some sort of procedure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was the only time that we've ever witnessed that she was incorrect. Now, but getting into precognition and such, like, I don't think by any means I can do that. Like, I've never been able to do something like that. But I've personally, I've gotten, I guess what you could say, like, is like a bad vibe before something happens. And it's like, something's wrong that day. You know what I mean? Like sometimes the whole day it's off, and something's gonna happen. And sometimes it's even shorter than that. Sometimes it's like, okay, this is gonna sound really bad, and honestly, I hope I hope my parents never hear this podcast, because I would be probably they would be very upset by this. So when I was younger, some friends of mine and we would make Ouija boards, and
Oh no.
I'm sure a lot of people have done this. It's not uncommon, but we used to sort of push the limits of how much we did it. Obviously everyone did the graveyard one or whatever, but we would make them, and it would be usually out of like construction paper, and and we would use like a shot glass. And then there's a lot of rules to Ouija boards that we were very unaware of starting out. One of the more common ones is you are supposed to keep salt with you. And we did not always do that. We may have been in a house, but we didn't have it like right there with us. Because specifically, if you've ever seen a Ouija board, the reason why the planchet, the like little finder piece, the reason why that's so flat and wide is because if you anger a spirit while using one, they will attempt to flip it over. Because they are attempting to escape into your world. Into your area, specifically. Because a lot of people may not believe this or know this, but Ouija boards are supposed to be sort of a gateway for communication, but they can be used like a door.
Exactly.
So the thing is, when you're playing a Ouija board with a group of people, and you're using a shot glass, they will attempt to flip the shot glass, and you have to coat the board in salt immediately. If you don't, you're leaving the doorway open. And so, this is getting into a tangent. If I start getting too much into one of the just bad experiences with a Ouija board, we can cover that. I mean, I can go over that in a minute. But the main one that I wanted to talk about was getting into like the idea of precog. So one day we decided we were going to follow a buddy's his girlfriend at the time was like, oh, I have this really cool place to go try this at. It's out in some woods, out in the SoCal area. There's, the San Bernardino National Forest is everywhere. So she's like, let's go to these woods. We're going to go check out this area that I found. Now, she's no longer his, in any sort of relationship. I don't talk to this person. So we go out to the woods that she took us to there, and I don't even know where it was. We just followed her. We go out there, and she points us to like this clearing, and she's like, "Oh yeah, we'll just do it right over here. This is a nice area." And I know that as soon as we got into the area, like as soon as we set foot in that like clearing, like I had this it starts at the base of the spine. It's this like this shooting cold that comes in at the base of your spine, and it starts crawling up your back, and you feel these like fingers running one at a time up your back. Like if you've ever had someone like take their nail and like run it up your back, up your spine, like really gently, it feels like that. But when it gets to the base of your neck, it's like an icy cold hand grips it. And I had this feeling, and I was like, no, this something's wrong here. This is not like a good place for this. We need to go. And everyone's like, oh, come on, like, wait, you're just being a pussy, you're being a wuss. And I kind of was like, you know what? I'm not gonna touch the board tonight. I'm not gonna do it. Like, I don't feel comfortable here. Something's wrong, and I'm not gonna do it. And they're touching the board, and they're doing their thing. And I'm kind of walking around the clearing, looking around. Now, again, she's the only one who knew where we were. And as I'm looking at this clearing, and they're just starting to use the board, I start noticing, wait, there's like trees, like down trees kind of circling the clearing. And I was like, it kind of looks like a campsite, but it's not. Like, there's no like evidence of camping here. And I'm looking, and I start noticing there's pentagrams carved into all the trees at different angles. Oh. And there's like candle wax running down these trees. Like there's been a lot of candles placed here. And as they're doing this, I start hearing this sound, and I'm like, yo, what the fuck is that? And they're like, she starts going, oh, it's probably just like a donkey or something. There's wild donkeys out here. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like any donkey I've ever heard.
Damn satanic donkey. monkeys.
Dude, so it sounded like a goat. I thought that was
fuck
my
that.
thing is
No.
my thing is it sounded like a
No.
goat, and I'm like, yo, we need to fucking leave. And so we, and at this point they're all kind of losing their shit too, except for her. She's oddly calm. And we all get back in the car. We're like, we're not doing this. We're getting in the car. We all get in the car. And they start grilling her. Everyone starts grilling her. They're like, what the fuck was this? Like, I thought you knew this area. And she's like, oh, yeah, well, okay. I guess I really never talked about it, but she's like, I'm very into, she said Wiccan, but then she started using the word coven and stuff and saying that they go there and that's where they hold their, like, special meetings. Yeah. Yeah, but, like, she wasn't really Wiccan. She never presented any Wiccan, like, she never told us anything about it. She never gave us any, like, input on that stuff. But she was definitely into some dark shit that wasn't, like, now I've known Wiccans, and most of them will tell you it's generally earth magic. It's not really,
It's more
they're
druidic.
Yes.
it's not exactly demonic in nature. What was going on there definitely felt a little demonic in nature. You know what I mean? But yeah, for whatever reason, I had an immediate, like, this is not right. Something's wrong here, and I knew to be out of that way before everything got to that point. But yeah, that's just one of those things that you. I guess some people tend to experience stuff like that where they know something is going to happen. And I don't know, how about you guys? Any stories like that, or anything? Maybe not that crazy, I guess, but
Actually, I was gonna say, I'm gonna need you to open your mind a little bit. You already got your mind where I need you to be. Before I go on, when I was 7 years old, I loved to play hide and seek. That was my shit. Only thing is, I love to climb inside of shit and climb inside of a box, climb inside of a trunk. Oh, climbing inside of a trunk. Why did I ever do that? So
Like
when
a
my
tree
grandfather,
Not
when
a
my
car trunk.
and yes, that kind of trunk. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So when my grandfather passed away when I was 10, fast forward 3 years, sorry, we went back to Washington State, and my cousin, she was married to a Nigerian. And during the funeral, well, before the funeral happened, I'm playing with my cousins and shit, and I'm like, oh, this crazy wicker fucking trunk thing is insane looking. I'm gonna hide inside of it. And I go inside the trunk. While I'm inside this trunk, this is the reason why I have claustrophobia. So while I'm inside the trunk, something presses down on top of me. My cousins couldn't find me. Nobody could find me because I couldn't make a goddamn noise because something was pressing on top of me. Ever since that day, like, I go to places, people be like, oh, there's a ghost here. I'm just like, no, there's fucking not. You're full of shit. That's just your fucking pipes. That's literally the house settling. That's the wood. But then I'll go to someone else's house. They're like, and I go, nope, this place is evil. I want nothing to do with it. Once again in college, the first house I lived in, I hated going down by the laundry room. And it's funny you mention a Wiccan bee, because when I came to the house, she goes, I've had to bless this house so many fucking times because of the evil that's down in your guys' basement. And I go, what? She goes, yeah, right there in the corner by your guys' laundry, by your guys' fucking washer and dryer, some guy hung himself. and it's the most evil presence you'll ever feel in your life. And I go, oh, that's why I always want to puke when I'm down by there.
Okay, that's honestly kind of a perfect segue back into that other story I was going to tell. So especially you were talking about the feeling like something was on you kind of thing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So back talking about us doing dumb shit and spirits that we should not have been messing with. So yeah, one time we're now mind you, without sharing any other identifying details, one of my best friends is named Christ. Unironically. His mother is she's well, I believe she is Christian now, but she wasn't, and not she was I believe new-ish to the country at the time, and he was born on right around you can guess which day. In fact, I believe on that eve, and he he came out on the 23rd or whatever, 24th, and she just goes, Christ. A lot. He goes by Chris a lot, but it's just because a lot of people get uncomfortable calling him that.
Yeah.
I have no such qualms. I will yell Christ at him so loud. He's my for if you don't know, he's my my secret husband.
Well, it's not a secret now.
Well, now it's not. Sorry, Kat. Love you.
I mean, Jen's my wife, so
Well, there's
my
that.
wife.
Secret wife or just open wife?
It's open wife.
It's pretty open. It's secret wife because he's married too, so his wife. But his wife knows. I was there way before she was. She knows. She's okay with it. She understands.
California just gets more and more liberal.
Okay, so we're at his house. Well, it's an apartment, but we're at his old apartment, and there's a group of us, and of course we're doing the Ouija board thing again. And for those of you anyone considering doing this, just buy one. It doesn't make it work less because it's bought. They're the same. Realistically, the bought one is just safer. Because the bought one has a planchet that is hard to flip over. So one of our whenever we would go to his apartment to use this, we would always end up frequently speaking to the same spirit. It happened every time, and here's the thing: it wasn't even just like a lot of people go, "Oh, it must have been one of your friends just playing the joke." It would be different people using it, and they would get the same spirit, and it was.
Does it have a name?
It did. It was. Honestly, this was probably 14 years ago. It was, but I don't remember the name. It was this. I want to say it had a really Victorian. It was like a little girl. It was a 5-year-old girl. Yeah. I should specify. This is his apartment is now demolished, but it was next door to a really old cemetery in the city. This cemetery, if you go through it, has headstones all the way back into the 1800s. There's a few of them around where I live. So not super uncommon. When I say a Victorian sounding name, this wasn't like a little Victorian child. I mean, it just had a very classical sounding name. But anyways, no, more like
Rebecca.
I want to say something like Annette or something like that. It was very.
Oh. No.
Anyways, I don't remember honestly. But the name is irrelevant. But okay, so so we were talking to the spirit, and we're using a construction paper Ouija board and a shot glass. And like I said, it could be different people, different sets of people. Like we would always do with at least 3, but we might have 9 people there, and we would switch out who was doing it, and it would still show up the same spirit, because we all thought maybe it must be one of us's. But the thing is, these were people who didn't believe it either. Like we were the ones being suspect of it. And it was always the same spirit that liked to talk. And one time we had been talking to it for a while, asking general questions, dumb shit, stuff that 16, 17, 18-year-olds would ask it, And no. Oh, so
Does your dick get bigger?
well, it was a little girl. So I don't think she had I don't know if she had a ghost stick. But anyways, so one of the things that we talked about was we had asked if it could reach out, if it could show us any signs or anything like that. And now this is back in the days of, I guess it wasn't pre-smartphone, but most of us were using non-smartphones. Most of us still had old candy bar style phones. You know what I mean? Like, I think I had one of the fancier ones, being the one of those like flip open T-Mobile phones where it had like a keyboard inside. I was living the hot life.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Open, when you're bored, trying to look cool, walking down a hallway.
well, you just flip it out. You flipped it out sideways. It was one of those. You slid it out sideways, and you could like text on the little keyboard. Yes, that's the one. That's the one. So okay. So anyways, we asked it to prove us, that it's there, and it asked us how we wanted it to do that, and we all said, call our phones. And so the 3 of us that were using it at the time put our 3 phones on the table. Mind you, we're not telling the other people near us what are like in the other room. They're in the room, near us, but they're not like, not all of them are paying attention. Most of them are just on, they're all talking to each other. This is just a little, a few of them are drinking, that kind of thing. And we're all sitting around, the 3 of us are sitting around doing this at his kitchen table, and they're in the, it's not really the other room, because it was more of like an open plan, but it's away from what we're doing. And we all put our 3 phones on the table, so none of us could have done it. The people listening, or the people there, weren't really listening, and even if they did, 3 of them would have had to do this at the same time. But we asked to call a phone. We thought it was going to call one, and then all of a sudden, all 3 phones start ringing, and all 3 phones get answered, and all 3 phones are static. And like there's like, we couldn't make out what was being said. If anything was being really said, it was like listening to white noise. And then all 3 phones hang up all at once. Now, I should say that we already knew this spirit was a problem. Not in the sense that she was a bad spirit or anything like that. Not that we knew of. I mean, I guess how much do you know, right? But what happened was, she kept telling us every so often, like, she would be like, I have to go. And then it would just, our planchette would just like shoot to goodbye. And one time we asked, why do you just like disappear like that? And she said that when she's communicating with us, she has occasionally her mother, who killed her, comes looking. And she gets very upset when she talks to people. And so she has to close the door, because she will get angry. And she will try to take over the planchette from her. and we didn't. We used to do dumb shit. Like we would ask the spirit to like. We'd be like, all right, do a race, and it would shoot the planchette around the board in a circle like really fast. And like we would do dumb shit. You should never do that. Never ever do that. That's just like antagonizing them. But anyways, so we thought it would be a good idea to be like, well, like let us talk to her, like you know, let's stay on and tell her don't go to goodbye. Like she started going to goodbye one time, and we were like, no, don't go. Like we want to talk to your mom.
Oh.
Yeah, we shouldn't have done that. We should not have done that. We should. I wish I had gotten that like bad feeling vibe in my back. Oh, buddy. Ooh, buddy. That was a bad one. So, okay. That day, it was. I think there was 4 of us on the planchette at that time. It was myself, Christ, my buddy Johnny, and I want to say it was our other friend, Harry, which, okay, you know Harry.
Yeah.
I want to say it was Harry. And it starts doing that, and Harry's like, no, I'm not cool with that. I'm out. And he like, you know, he touches the goodbye with his hand, which is to signify that you're stepping away from the board. You know, that you're pulling your hand off the planchette. There's a couple ways to say goodbye. One would be to force the planchette to goodbye, and one would be to touch it yourself to get your hand off it. But you don't do that if you're the last person. If you're the last person, you don't touch goodbye yourself. You have to either make the planchette go there, or you ask the ghost to take it there. You know what I mean? Yeah, we decided to ask for the mom to talk, and Harry like he said I'm out, and he pulled the ripcord and touched the goodbye for himself. So the 3 of us stayed on, and as soon as this spirit, murderous mom, whatever you want to call it, when she grabs hold of the planchette from, you know, wherever her end is, I'm not kidding. There's a time where you can try to push the planchette around, or you can even, one of you guys can even grab the top of it and force it to a specific area if you need to. It's there's usually some resistance, but it's usually not like, it's not impossible to do, you know? And this thing starts, I mean, I'm talking, our hands are like flying back and forth across the board.
No.
And we're trying to figure out what it's spelling, and it's not making sense because the words like so fast, we're having a hard time keeping up with it, like where it's spelling, you know? And at first we thought it was trying to spell a word, and then we realized it wasn't trying to spell anything. It was trying to flip the cup over. It was shooting left and right, and we couldn't stop it. Like, we were all holding on to the thing, like grabbing it with our hands.
Like it was trying to build up momentum to flip it?
Yeah, we were grabbing onto this cup with we were holding it, we all were holding it with our left hands, like our left fingers. We all threw our right hands on top, and it was jerking left and right. It would not stop. And eventually, we all had to grab onto this thing, and we forced it to the goodbye. And we were like, okay, it stopped. It stopped moving. You know, we were able to move it back to the center of the board, and it wasn't like stuck to it wasn't, like, you know what I'm saying? And remember when I said if you're the last person, you don't touch goodbye, you move it to the goodbye. So we had forced it to goodbye, and it stopped pulling, and so we had brought it back to center. And then we had started doing the everyone says goodbye, 1, 2, you know? And then Jonathan is the last one. Johnny's the last one. and he goes to move it to goodbye, and right before it gets there, the cup shoots backwards and forwards and it flips over.
Oh no.
And it took us a second to kind of realize what had just happened. But apparently when we moved it back to the center of the board, she grabbed back on. Is the best we can explain.
Oh shit.
And yeah, and mind you, we'd never had an experience like this. Normally it's usually very like chill and things don't normally go wrong. And yeah, and so that happened. We didn't, we flipped the cup back over, we put it back on the board and forced it to goodbye and left it on goodbye and then moved the cup off the table completely. And we were like, okay. That's got to be good, right? That's it. That's all we had to do. And about this time, one of our buddies, he's on his laptop and he's like just kind of searching stuff because he was getting, a lot of the people there were getting concerned. And Jonathan starts saying, I don't, that freaked me the hell out. Like I'm a little shook. And we had been spending the night at Christ's house, and he says, hey, I'm gonna go take a shower. Like I need a minute for that one. Like I need to process that. And he goes to take a shower, and as he goes in there, we're kind of looking, and then all of a sudden, one of our buddies that was on his computer, he's on his laptop, and he goes, "Hey, when that happened, did you guys salt the board?" And we went, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, it says you're supposed to salt the board if that ever happens. It shuts the whole thing down, And so we're like, shit, and we start looking, we find some salt in the pantry, and we cover the board real quick, And a few minutes goes by, and we hear like the loudest fucking bang come out of the bathroom. The bathroom's like in the back room, so it's like the wall is on the back side of this kitchen wall that we're in. And we hear like a bang against the wall. And we all get concerned. And so we run over there, and this dude is... Okay, this is making it a little graphic. Well, not graphic, but we go in there, and this guy, he's in the shower, he's naked. It's a big deal. But Christ and I go in there, and he is like... His face is like red like a tomato. Like... And he's like slapping his like chest like he's can't breathe. And he'd been smacking the wall. That's what the bang was. He was trying to get our attention. But he's red like a tomato, and he's like mouthing like something, and he looks like he can't breathe, and he's like holding himself, looks like he's holding himself against the wall. And I guess we're lucky in that Christ had brought salt with him. The same salt we had just covered the board with. He had it in his hand. And he grabs like the biggest handful of it, and he just like chucks it into the shower on this guy. And all of a sudden, like, he gasps and drops to the floor. And the way he explained it was, he said he got in the shower, and a few moments after getting in, he said he started feeling like something was on his chest, and but he was standing, and it felt like it was squeezing his chest, and it felt like it was like just squeezing his like whole chest together. Like he said he couldn't get a breath in, he couldn't even let a breath out. Like he said it was just whatever what was going on, he felt like he was being squeezed. And as soon as we hit him with the salt, it just released. He just dropped. And so that was the segue that connected up your story to this one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. God.
Yeah. So then we get back on later. We obviously gave it a little bit. We get back on the board, and we reach out to the same little girl, and we ask her, how did your now mind you, Jonathan's not playing. He doesn't want to touch the thing. This is Christ, myself, and Harry. And Harry didn't want to do it either, but we kind of talked him into it. But we sit down and we ask. We said how we'd never asked before because we thought it was rude, but we felt like it was a little important now because we knew that the little girl's mom had killed her. We asked, "How did your mom kill you?" And it kind of starts going to like no and goodbye, like in that area. And we asked it to stop, and we said, "Will you tell us?" And it starts moving really slow, and it spells out BATH, and then it says DROWNED. She was drowned in the bath, and we
shower, not be able to breathe. Holy shit!
Yeah, and mind you, Jonathan's not at the table. He's not even like he didn't even want to be in the room. He was like completely against this thing. And yeah, so that was our big phasmophobia like moment. Yeah, it was stupid. Again, don't recommend it. I definitely don't recommend doing even dumber shit. Like, mind you, most of our Ouija boards were disposed of the safest way, supposedly, which is to salt them, soak them in water, and then once they've dried in the salt, you burn it. It makes sure that the item is cleansed before burning it.
So salt and sage are like purifying agents.
You can smoke it in sage and then finish burning it. We just didn't want to burn sage around our buddy's house. His apartment really, which is like, you know, you don't want to be like those guys. So we what the easiest method to dispose of a Ouija board safely, you salt the board, set it in water with the salt on it. Add some more if you like, whatever, and then pull it out and let the salt water dry onto the board, and then you can burn it. If you just burn it, you are potentially, I mean, I don't know the truth of it, but I also don't want to be the one to fuck around and find out. Potentially, you are releasing whatever the last spirit you spoke to with that board, or you are leaving an opening for that spirit. So I know that we definitely did some really stupid ones. My cousins and I explained this story once to my cousins, and they were intrigued, and they wanted to try it, and they didn't want to do a normal Ouija board. They were like, I don't believe that it's really spelling stuff out like that. I feel like it's got to be you guys, right? Like one of you guys is doing this. Because, you know, your Ouija board is it's a straightforward alphabet on the paper, you know, A through Z in a row. It's so anyways, they didn't believe it, and they said let's make it harder. They said let's make it harder for anyone to cheat. And so my uncle used to have this large round table, and I took, because I wanted to prove that it worked. I took, what are they called? Like flashcards. And I wrote each letter of the alphabet out. Yes, no, goodbye, hello, and goodbye. I wrote that all out on different flashcards, and we set them around the table in a random order. Everything was random. Like, we flipped them over, shuffled them, flipped them back over, and then spread them out in a circle. And then touched a planchette, which was a shot glass in the center of the table. And it was still spelling shit out way faster than any of us could have even read what was on the table. So, I'm of the mindset that this works. This is not, like, something is going on. You know what I mean? You know, people may argue otherwise, but I have seen these work.
Like when people talk about, like, hear too many fucking podcasts for the supernatural and stuff, and people just talk about, well, I never see it. It's like, dude, I'm a man of science myself. Neil deGrasse Tyson is my shit. I love physics, but guess what? I've seen things. Yes,
Yeah.
I will quote Blade Runner. I've
Oh,
seen
yeah.
things that I can't fucking explain.
Oh no, it's out there, man. I know for a fact there's things I could not explain. That I don't know how to explain it or why any of it. But absolutely, I have seen some shit go down. Oh, I feel like Kat's got a story now.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I have a hard time sleeping during the summer. And that's mainly because when I was in high school, like every single night for like a straight month, there was just something at my door.
What?
What do you
Like
mean something?
my brother would always fucking leave the door open, even though I told him like, please don't. It's fucking freaking me out. Always in the doorway, like not moving in or close or anything, just standing there like watching me. And my bed was like right in front of the door.
See, to me that sounds like sleep paralysis.
Sleep
It
paralysis.
sounds like
demon.
it. I can still move though.
Hmm. Yeah,
Like
it's
there's
a
nothing
common...
physically like stopping me.
Right.
I was just fucking terrified and I didn't want to move.
Gotcha.
Like the room, like whenever I saw it, it would get hotter.
No.
It would get angrier.
Well, okay, I mean, I feel like I've been telling a lot of stories here, but so here's one thing. My dad is he's getting a little older, and as he gets older, as a lot of people do, he's getting a little more religious. But
How
now,
that
yeah, well, they're cramming for finals sometimes.
spiritual finals, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't, I don't think he's leaving anytime soon. But I get the rationale there. You want to make your life make sense, and it's fine, and that's fine. I don't uh I don't dislike any religion. I feel like everyone's personal religions are that's their own choice. That's their decisions. That's whatever makes them comfortable.
Keyword
Um,
choice.
what's that?
Keyword choice.
Yeah. It's a choice. It's
Exactly.
I don't I don't. It's whatever makes your life have meaning, and that's fine. That's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, when we were younger, anyways, I would have definitely painted myself probably closer to atheistic, or kind of, I guess I wouldn't say atheistic, agnostic maybe. Yeah, which to an extent I still am. I still don't have a preferred style of religion, and that's okay. That's fine. But when I was younger, my dad was more aligned to what I would say I am now. He was sort of, he'd gone to church, but he was more of a like let me decide for myself kind of guy. And the reason for that is he used to tell us, and we would ask him, like, well, do you really believe this stuff, like all the church stuff, like do you believe all that? And he told us, then he told us a real wild story. And my dad doesn't really, he'll tell he'll tell some stories, but when he's not making whatever it is up. When he's serious,
No tall tales, but he's got stories.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, the majority of them that he tells you, they're all true, or even if they're a little grandiose, but all true. But this one is a story that was this was backed up by my grandfather, by uncles, and all of them have told it the same. Sorry, I'm dying for a water right now, but I'll keep going. So the thing is, he would tell us. He goes, I may not believe everything that's being said in church. He goes, but I definitely believe that I would never. He goes, I would never say there isn't a God of some sort. And he goes, the reason being is, he goes, I have seen the devil at work, and I can only put my faith that there's something looking out for us, because if there's something that evil, there's got to be something to balance it. And yeah, he was he tells us a story. He says that I guess, I don't remember what the circumstance was, how they got it, but it was a wardrobe that they had gotten from somewhere. Their mother had gotten, so my grandmother had gotten from somewhere, and they had cleaned it up, and this thing was old. It was old in the 70s. It was you know what I mean?
Oh.
And they had cleaned it up, and she had set the thing up in the room, or in one of the rooms, and I guess they kept getting these weird vibes or whatever from it. Like, they were getting kind of freaked out, and everyone kept saying they heard it opening or whatever. And finally, my grandmother was like, I'm done with that thing. I don't want it in here. I don't want it anymore. And she tells my grandfather to get rid of it, to put it out in the street or whatever, and let somebody take it. And he goes to move it, and this thing snaps open. I'm not talking about he tilted it and it rolled open, the door flapped open or whatever, and hit him. No. This thing, when he went to move it, the door snapped open and smacked him. It shot open, like he said, it had a spring behind it. And him and my uncle Jazz were freaking the fuck out, because they said it just started opening and closing. They were saying it was, and this is, mind you, this is from the words of several people. This thing was like poltergeist. It was swinging open and closed, and it didn't want anyone to touch it. And they eventually, it scared the shit out of them. My grandma started burning sage and shit, and she was a very religious woman. She was not she had that, but it was as a spice. You know what I mean? She pulled out a sprig of sage from the kitchen and lit that shit on fire. And yeah, and this thing slowed down for a minute, and I guess my grandfather took a moving strap or whatever, and tied the thing shut. And while it was slowed down, they dragged this wardrobe out to the street, and they never saw anyone pick it up, but it was gone in the morning. This happened all overnight.
No.
Nobody ever, they and I don't, as far as I know, my dad and my uncle, they didn't sleep. They sat there, and they were they didn't live at their house wasn't at the street. There was two houses on the lot, and they were in the back one. But they said no one ever showed up down that street. It was a cul-de-sac. Very few people ever went down it unless they lived there. And by dawn, this wardrobe was gone. So that was his take on him seeing the devil at work. And yeah, that one was pretty violent, whatever was happening. They were getting hit with drawers and stuff like that. It was freaking throwing stuff, and that was a pretty violent experience of theirs. See, very, very rarely did we see stuff like that go down. We, not rarely, I should say, almost never. Other than the phone calls, which we had replicated multiple times. It would, we could have it, they would call one phone, two phones, whatever it was. Wherever we had on the table, we could make it do it. It would do it. Stuff like that. The things, sometimes like, you put a candle on the table and it'll blow out the candle and clearly nobody breathed, nobody blew on it. And it would, candle's gone. I've definitely seen stuff like that happen, and the explanation of it is, your mind wants to come up with a rational reason that just happened. And to this day, I still have never come to one for some of those. You know what I mean?
I
How about
know
you?
what you mean. I know what you mean. It sounds like Richard's the only rational one of us all. He's like, nah, you guys are crazy. I ain't got shit.
No. I don't really have stories like that. I have more a UFO story.
Ooh.
I feel like we gotta do an episode just on that sort of stuff now.
Exactly. That's definitely going to be the next episode because I am very interested on that.
Maybe it's 2 weeks because in early June or sometime in June, the Pentagon is dropping that UFO report.
Oh, you're right.
Didn't they? I thought they already released that. It's
they're releasing footage, man. High definition footage.
Oh, all right, I'm in. Yeah, I knew about the Black Vault stuff, but I didn't know if they had footage on there or not.
Oh, there's
supposedly
video footage.
They've been finding stuff every day.
Yeah, what's that?
Well,
you know what? Let's talk a little bit about this. We can talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, we got a little time. Oh, you got to wrap up? Oh, okay. Well.
Oh shit.
Yeah, you're right. It is 7:05.
It's that time. Yeah, it's that time.
So,
paranormal thing. I've never really had any paranormal experiences. I'm honestly kind of jealous. I try to keep an open mind with these things, even if I am a very scientifically driven mind. But that doesn't necessarily mean I don't believe in any of it. It's just I'm still looking for proof or waiting to experience anything that isn't obviously just a fucking breeze or, someone, moving outside of my doorway or something like that, But, I mean, I've never touched a Ouija board, though. And I've heard...
Oh, I would never dare fucking touch a Ouija board.
I'll say, I mean, if you want the experience of doing it, I mean, they're not hard to make. I don't recommend it.
Yeah, see, I'm too untrustworthy, and
Yeah.
I am one of those people that fall in the field like one of you are moving it intentionally. It has to be something like a figure appearing like in front of me or like a face melding into a wall. Something more concrete.
I'll be 100% honest. When we would do that, especially that time, remember what I said? It was shooting back and forth and stuff. Your mind wants to justify that and say no. This is someone is doing this. It must be someone doing this, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, when you're actually doing it, you can see everyone, especially when it's a shot glass, everyone is only touching it with the tips of 2 fingers. And when it's flying back and forth like that, it's moving faster than any one person could have moved it without it like flipping over. Like it was none of us were pushing down. Like you can see when someone, like, take your fingers, push down on something, you'll see your fingers turn white at the nail. You know what I mean?
Right.
None of us you'll see your fingers turn white at the nail. I'm pretty sure. B, clarify that one for me. I'm not 100% sure. We were all white guys, so I mean, we were visible.
What about precision?
No, you'll see the white of your nail. Yeah, I can see the white of my nail when you're pushing down hard.
Yeah, right. You were pushing down hard enough to do that. You would see it, and that was the thing. All of us were only barely touching it, and when it started flying around like that, we had all started to panic, but nobody was pushing down. In fact, we were scared to lift our fingers up because that essentially, it leaves an opening. And then we all grabbed onto the top of it, and it was moving in a way that just you could not have replicated. It was moving. You could tell it was moving from the bottom.
Okay. So, what about precision? Like, when it moved to a letter, did it, like, stop with the letter accurately within the center of the thing?
Oh, yeah. It would. Yeah, we made our letters specifically so that it couldn't be, like, mistaken what letter it was on. And it would... Sometimes they would spell pretty quickly, and they would be like... And you had to, like, really follow.
Uh-huh.
But most of them would move slowly to the letters and then, like, be very clear where they were going. You know what I mean?
Especially for that small girl ghost.
Oh yeah. She would clarify where, like, it would be very obvious where she was going. She generally didn't try to move the planchette hardly, not fast at all. Occasionally we would get ones that we hadn't talked to before, and sometimes we'd goof off and tell it to do the race thing and race the cup around the board. When stuff like that would happen, in the way that it was moving, it would be kind of erratic sometimes. Like, it would go around the board in a circle, but then sometimes, again, this is not with the one that we frequently spoke to, it would stop and try to go the other way to throw the cup. And that was essentially what the mother was doing when, well, not going in a circle, but obviously just back and forth, was trying to throw our hands off the cup so it could flip it. This is getting a little bit into the mechanics of a Ouija board. The more people that are touching it or contacting it, the more people that have imposed their will into the cup, into the planchette, and the stronger that our side of it is. The more people that are on this side of it connecting to it, the stronger you are together. You know what I mean? Like, if that makes sense. And when there's less people, when it throws your fingers off the cup, which does happen, it weakens the bond and allows it to be easier to flip or to do what it wants to do. It lets it take control. And the whole point is to maintain control on your end of it. You would have to do it to really see that.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I'm not 100% willing to ever go back to that. I know Kat's definitely not.
No.
Yeah, I don't mess with that stuff.
Yeah, she never did. I was much more into the paranormal as in my youth.
I'm into the paranormal.
When I
antagonize you.
True. Okay. I was much more into playing with the paranormal, I guess I should say. And
you were a junior Zach Baggins, basically.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, look at the little Zach Baggins here talking shit.
Yeah, that's like my worst fear of, like, being, like, so thirsty for paranormal events, just to be that asshole sitting in a room by himself and like, do you hear that? Do you fucking hear that? Bro.
Okay. Also, so I just looked up who the hell Zach Baggins is. Fuck off. Easily the most punchable face. Easily.
Easily.
He's easily the most punchable anything. He's just a douche.
Hey Brian, when you
Yeah.
were messing with the Ouija board, were you wearing an affliction shirt?
No, absolutely not.
He had Ed Hardy jeans on.
Yeah. And
Oh,
his skin
no.
cap, like with the bill raised.
Super negative, no.
All right.
Um,
Actually, I do have one experience that
Oh, go
was
on.
the most intense I've ever felt. We'll probably end the podcast on this, kind of. The most intensely I've ever felt like I was being watched. I was 18 or 19, roughly within this range. Only guessed because I was with this one girl around then. But me and a big group of friends get invited out to an abandoned military post, which is basically a concrete bunker, but it's something happened to it, and a lot of the walls in here, the concrete walls down at the third floor, the basement floor, have been broken down. So there's like a bunch of concrete slabs like piled up on each other, and the only way you could get down there was like basically climbing because the stairs were all screwed up too. This place must have been intentionally bombed or something happened to where it caused a collapse on this basement floor. But me and a bunch of friends got invited out here, out there, and apparently it was a normal thing. And about 15 of us, showed up to drink and smoke at this really remote location. This is about 45 minutes away, car ride from Apple Valley, in the middle of fucking nowhere. I don't remember where this was. This was all at night. So I have no clue where we're going on secluded, some paved roads, some dirt roads. To get there, it was about 2/3 of the way a dirt road. And finally get there. It's fine. We're having fun. And we're initially on the main walk-in floor, which is just fucking concrete. And there's a top level that is cracked concrete, and really all it is. And we're hanging out there because it's a nice, cool summer night. The basement floor is all screwed up with the broken slabs of walls. And in that basement floor, it's obviously dark as shit. There's no natural moonlight coming through. And this is 2007, where the light on the phone isn't the strongest. So we're all stumbling around this concrete basement. And I feel there's more of us there than there actually is. Not all of us went down to the basement. There's about maybe 5 to 7 of us. And I feel like there's about double that. Not because of the sound of voices or anything. So I hear more shuffling. Because at this point, I'm about in the middle of the group of people. I feel like I hear more shuffling down in this basement than it really calls for. Like, I hear movement in front of us, ahead of us in the stair. I mean, like, in the center of the room. And I've never felt more uneasy because I knew the people who were in front of me. One of my best friends, the girl I was dating at the time, behind me as we were climbing down jagged staircase. That's the only time I've ever felt that tingling that Brian described up and down the spine. Wasn't a cold night either. I remember this. It was like in the middle of summer, in the middle of fucking desert. That was the only time.
Okay. We'll definitely end here. I want you guys to remind me next time. So since he's talking about some urban exploring, when I was younger, we explored the location of the Christmas Day mudslides in the San Bernardino Forest. There was I think it's like Saint Sophia Orthodox Church had a campground up in the forest area near where we live, and there's a mudslide on Christmas Day, like 2003, 2004, something like that. So around 2008, we explored the leftover ruins. And this is around the time I was getting into photography and was taking photos. And I'll see if I can dredge them up from my old drop boxes. There were some photos that had some suspect imagery that you guys might find interesting, but we'll save that for next time.
Oh hell yeah! You know what? We're gonna just go completely full paranormal for the next episode.
It sounds like it. That's where we're going.
Yeah, since seems to be horror themed at this point.
Well, at least for now.
At least for now.
Topics change.
We'll see.
Maybe we're not going to call it. Maybe we're not going to call it Dirty Nerdy Media. Maybe it's going to be the Dark and Dirty Podcast or something. I don't know.
Ooh. Oh damn, that's actually a good name.
Dreary Inquiries.
What is it?
Dreary Inquiries.
Oh
Richard,
man.
you genius.
Goddamn right.
Maybe that would just be like the subgenre. Like, well, you know, when we get into the paranormal days, it'll be that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, cue shitty flash animation.